Hello, Everhouse. I'm Thomas Camilleri, and this is my home. So this is Gżira. I really do think that I was meant to live here because I always thought I'd really love to find an old Maltese place full of character and leave my stamp on it. This place is pretty much unrecognizable to how it looked when I bought it. It had its share of problems, as do all old properties. This was originally 3 rooms. The roof was so damaged that it needed to be replaced entirely. In fact, I was doing this in my 20s, which is why I had a lot more energy to remove all of the Maltese tiles, clean all of them, kind of replot how I was going to place them because I replaced them in different areas. But yeah, very much a labor of love. Otherwise, as much as that, I mean, the apertures are so beautiful. You can't find the exact same glass, especially yellow, but I managed to find a kind of similar textured glass. And yeah, it's just great. We were clearing out my grandfather's shed, but when we were clearing it out, we noticed actually it was just compressed earth on top of old, mismatched Maltese tiles left over from when they built their house. So I ended up with about 20 mismatched tiles, and then I started, every time somebody posted that they were getting rid of tiles or they had a house renovation, I'd always take a couple. And then I had enough in the end to do the bathroom with this whole mismatched pattern. And during the process, I just really fell in love with the sheer amount of patterns and colors, and they're beautiful. And I mean, that's kind of eventually what led to me starting off Lazarus tiles, and I hope we reach a stage where I cannot do Lazarus tiles anymore because the tiles would be saved. Many of them are over a century old, but every week we see skipfuls of them thrown away. I think for me I just really love when I find something that's being thrown out or not appreciated, and I just really make it work. The sofa I'm sitting on was in a skip, so I thought, I'll splurge on the fabric since they were free. Still very comfy. You guys are sat on my grandmother's old sofa. Still got the original upholstery. The kitchen stools are quite a fun find as well because they were covered in blue Rexine because they were at the PN Casine in Paola. So they're quite a fun one as well. An old colleague of mine used to work at Malta Libraries, and she was saying how Beltisep were getting rid of the old shelves, and they were getting rid of all of them. I thought they'd fit perfectly, but they're a bit wide, so I asked my blacksmith, and he kind of cut them down the middle and then put 2 on top of each other and welded them, and they fit perfectly over there. The Spinola Mini Market sign was actually not meant for me. I bought that as a Christmas present for my brother, who actually lives in Spinola. And after he unwrapped the giant sign, he's like, Tom, I really don't think I have space for this. So I thought, no problem. So it lives here now. I think I enjoy curation because of the challenge that it provides. Right now, I'm trying to operate on a one-in, one-out basis with anything that I find. I remember I found this little mirror, so I went to see it, and this very sweet old man opened his garage for me, and he said, actually, you know what, I've forgotten the mirror upstairs. Wait here, let me go get it. So I was just stood there in the garage, and then in the corner I see this sign in mint condition. And when he came back, I said, "Dik tabella." He's like, that sign was my father's. He used to run the jeweler shop on St. Paul's Street in Valletta. But then when we moved to Hamroon, we took the sign down, and it's been in my garage ever since. And I told him, listen, I mean, that needs to be on a wall, not in a garage. He really enjoyed the fact that I liked it so much, and he sold it to me. When I travel, I like to leave with a little bit of art, perhaps, but we've got such a vibrant art scene in Malta. For years, I've really enjoyed discovering new artists and following artists, especially as they, change and discover new mediums and adding to your collection. I love old lights. When I was putting together this place, and whenever I'm working on a project like this, whenever I find something that is beautiful, I'll just get hold of it. And then eventually when it's time to look at the lights, I'll kind of go, okay, well, this works with this and this works with this. And then I have all of these left over. So that's a bit of a problem. I totally get that it's not to everyone's taste. I mean, Mom often jokes that Nanna bought it, she threw it out, and I bought it back. So I get that it might be a bit busy. At the end of the day, it's my house, and I love it, and I live here. So it is what it is.
Hi Everhouse, I'm Laura, and today we are in my house in Utrecht. I've been living in Utrecht for 12 years now, and in this house I've been living for 8. I wanted to live somewhere where there was a nice balance between being anonymous and running into people, which I really like. It's a kind of a smaller town, like a small version of Amsterdam. I don't know, there's something about Utrecht that I really love. I work as a costume maker for the National Opera in the Netherlands. I feel like my style has a lot of Victorian influences, I would say. Not that I initially realized it that much. I like a very maximalist style, and even the color on my walls, the green, is a very specific green. In the 1700s, they called it arsenic green. It's a kind of green that used to kill a lot of people. It was a poisonous green, but I didn't even realize until later on. But if that's why I like it even more, I guess. I try to pick all of my things secondhand from like the Gumtree equivalent of the Netherlands. I never spend any more than 150 euros on things. Also because my wallet doesn't allow any more than that, but I think my couch was like 75. Really like to try and find those little gems. Most of them used to belong to people's grandmothers. I feel like the ghosts of these items keep each other company in my house. One of the first things that I bought was my Pink Floyd poster, I guess. And from that moment on, I've just been trying to collect little illustrations or photographs. A lot of the illustrations on my wall are from either my friends that made it or people that I know from the scene. And Nonna is one of my really close friends, and she does illustrations. I feel like this illustration really captured my spirit animal, so I really love it. So there are these kind of cigarette machines filled with little packs of art. It's called a pakje kunst. Get a little box with like a little piece of art in it that somebody made. And you can't really know what's inside it yet. It's like a little art surprise. And I think it's really cute, and I am addicted to it. So whenever I see a machine like that, I have to buy something. I love her so much. I saw her for the first time in a little antique shop, and I was buying a present for my friend, and I thought, what if I get that for her and then she has to hang it in her house because it's a gift, you can't throw that away. That's the rule with gifts. Kept on seeing her and fell in love with her cheeky little face. My friends knew about her at one point, and then for my birthday, they bought her for me. And she's my favorite little thing in the room. Oh yeah, I hate butterflies. I have a couple on my wall to let it be a warning to all of them that if they ever mess with me, this is their fate. I do everything in this space. I work here, I chill here, I watch movies here, all of my living in this area, except for sleeping. It's turning more into a studio than a living room, I feel like. But I love that I have the space to do that here. It's very bright, it's a very lively street, which I like. Not a light sleeper, I can just sleep through anything. So if there's somebody that has to live here, it might as well be me. Never feel lonely here. Like there's always stuff happening outside. So I really like that. I think all of my stuff I bought in the Netherlands. I mean, I don't know where it originally came from, but I know that I all bought it around here. Also because I don't drive, so it needs to be carryable. I just saw it and I was just like, this is where it needs to go. Two friends of mine helped me carry it up. Well, they carried it up. I just sat there. No, I'm very thankful that they did, otherwise it wouldn't be here. And I'm already scared if I ever have to move. I have to take it with me because my friend's already called in sick. So I think I'll have to live here forever. I like to hang my stuff on it that I made years ago before I even got into sewing. I have this vintage Moschino jacket on my phone. I was like, someday I'm gonna make this. And sometime I got to the point where I was like, I think I'm ready, you know? So I tried to recreate it, make a replica of it. It was a little high five moment to my younger self, you know, that I did it. Yeah, I got a lot of hats. I used to wear one every day almost, so I just hung them on my wall. I have a thing for brass. Maybe I'm overdoing it, it's a bit of an overkill. Is there such a thing? I don't know. For brass overkill. I'm considering painting that wall too. I don't like white walls. I'm trying to add another color into the mix. Everybody always says it makes the room smaller, and I'm like, let the damn room be smaller, you know? Every Saturday around the corner of my house there's a flower market. And I love walking around there and picking up some flowers for myself. I feel like Utrecht has a lot of Art Nouveau influences when you walk around. You see a lot of it, especially on the canals. So maybe unsubconsciously that inspired my items around the house. And a little bit of Pinterest. I love that there's a lot of stuff on my wall. I think I have a problem. I need to be stopped at some point. But I mean, I'm just gonna keep on going. I think a lot of people really like a minimalistic style, and it really calms them down, you know. To some people, it's maybe a bit chaotic, but to me, it's something that makes me feel at home. So, to each their own, I guess.
Hello Everhouse, my name is Yeung. Welcome to my loft in Santa Ana, California. It's always been my dream to be in a loft since I was a child. You watch American series on TV and you see amazing lofts, and that was my dream. I always think about America, you live in a loft. It's a very nice diffuse light here. I have this palm tree in front of this tall window and it diffuses the light very nice. I got this shadow of this tree. I got my blinds diffuse the light even more. And it's a nice calm light to be in for work. You know, it's not hard. Get you in the right vibe. Yeah, I wanted to have a place where people want to hang out and have objects that looks like a museum. I want it to be warm and comfortable. I want people to want to stay there and relax and want to hang out. Have this flea market of stuff from around the world and be creative and exchange ideas and talk. I want to make it for people to be as creative as possible. I work here, I collect my art, I collect objects, I bring them here. I think it reflects my life. I mean, I was born in Hong Kong and I grew up in Holland. So I got the Chinese influence, the European influence. I live in London, I live in Germany, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand. So I've been around. It's basically like stuff that I collect in my trips, travel. I surround myself with stuff that inspires me and helps me getting comfortable to do my job and create. The space is super eclectic. It goes from mid-century modern like Eames chair, Hans Wegner, art collection of Para. Those Green is one of my favorite artists. Stuff I get from flea markets. That's where you find really the gems. Just random objects that I like. Stuff that has stories. Maybe I have a problem, you know? Maybe I'm a hoarder. But I think I'm a hoarder of very nice stuff that kind of justify my disease. I'm originally from Holland. I came here on a holiday in California. I like the culture, the openness, the pioneer spirit, and I decided to stay, and it's been 22 years. I'm a product designer, mainly designing shoes, footwear, driving specifically. I do driving shoes for brands like Pilotti, Pagani, 24 Hours Le Mans. One of the brands I recently got involved in, started with a partner, is Roma. It's our pet project that reflects our personality and our interest in cars, sneakers, culture, just a mix of things that we like. A product has a life circle like people. It ages, it needs to be used. And it builds character, you know, the imperfection, it shows an age. I have bikes like this bike behind me, they're fully restored and super clean. It's nice, it's beautiful, but it misses the character. I think I gravitate towards that type of, you know, vibe. The Buddhas, I found them in China in a small village, in this little antique shop. Yeah, I thought they were amazing. The wood, the patina, it's so intricate, the way they're carved. And you can almost smell the incense, you know, from the temple they were at. It got like ingrained in the wood. I got them, they got crate in China, and somehow they arrived in LA in one piece. It's actually one of my favorite pieces. It's a saber tooth. My daughter made it when she was 12. I don't know exactly what the project description was. She came home and she had this tiger head that looks super well painted. I thought it was such a beautiful project, you know. She put a lot of effort into it, and I think it's one of those moments you realize that your kid is very talented and very special. Yeah, I had this crazy idea to make a bed, kind of like a mix between Chinese wooden screens that I see in old houses and a bit of Californian mid-century modern clean lines, not knowing that it's very difficult to make. Every hole has to be drilled by hand. In the end, it was 4,000 holes, 2,000 on one side, 2,000 on the other side. Problem was, after 2,000 holes, my carpenter went like, dude, I cannot deal with this. You know, I'm going crazy drilling holes the whole day. You know, I don't want to do this anymore. So I basically begged him, said, listen, dude, you know, take 2 weeks off, you know, go on a holiday and do something nice and get yourself together, come back and finish the other 2,000 holes. It's a Tibetan cabinet. I was in Hong Kong, also a shop. I believe it's a family cabinet that they pass on from generation to generation. I don't know how old it is. The way it is hand painted, the texture of the painting, the way the wood is carved and treated by hand. You can tell it's not by a machine. Yeah, I love everything about it. It's a very nice piece. The Afghan rugs, they're made during the war of Afghanistan, so it has like Kalashnikovs on it, hand grenades, tanks, all kinds of war sceneries. I was looking for them for a long time. I found them somehow in Singapore in a carpet place. They had a whole stack of it. So I bought the whole stack, combined with a Tibetan tiger rug. It's a very iconic rug, a flat tiger, very beautiful. And then I got this Tibetan wedding rug. It's got 2 lotus flowers. They use it within a wedding ceremony. I just love the color. I guess I have this like wedding wall rug and Tibetan tiger combination. I think it works, I don't know. Someone has to preserve these things. Some things are very obvious, design collectibles, but some things like the child's carousel horse, for me it's just as cool and just as valuable as my Eames chair. Someone made an effort to make this aesthetically pleasing. It's my belief that you can find creativity in art everywhere, even in the smallest, the most humble piece of object. Everyday objects, I love it.
Hi, I'm Magnus Walker and top of the morning to Everhouse. I've lived in the Arts District in downtown LA since '92. I acquired this building in 2000. We didn't ask people's opinions, but people thought we were crazy buying this former industrial building, comprising of 3 separate but connected buildings. The oldest building was built in 1902, the building next to it was built in the 20s, and what became my garage, a former machine shop, was built in the 50s. You know, this is obviously a big 2-story brick blank canvas. Having lived in a loft for 6, 7, 8 years prior to owning my own building, the goal always was to create a live-work space. What we did was create this space where upstairs was sort of based around a mini Hertz Castle English stately home, mixed in with some mid-century modernism, 60s, 70s furniture pieces, which when I describe it like that, it makes no sense. How do these styles coexist together? Sort of English, Gothic, exotic, with mid-century modern pop art from the 50s and 60s. So it's high-end, low-end, and it's mixing things together. But it's back to people liking to collect. You know, it's not just cars, guitars, and watches. And for me, it's a juxtaposition of mixing styles together. The other side was more pop art with some classic, but very, very livable. This is an IKEA table in front of me. I'm sat on obviously something a little bit different. So it's just having fun, doing things that inspire me, whether it's architectural, whether it's automotive, whether it's design. One of my favorite places is what we call the garden, but in reality, that's an old industrial railroad spur. You got to remember, up to the 70s, deliveries were still made to the building via railroad. So when we bought the building, that was an old, abandoned, disused alley with a lot of junk. And everything that you see in there, we planted almost 25 years ago. And nothing was over 8 feet tall. Now it's this peaceful, tranquil, mystical garden that when the sun comes over that wall at 7 a.m. in the morning, it's just magical. I describe myself as a lone wolf one-man army, and by that I mean I'm solo. There's not a PR team, management agency behind me, marketing brand, pushing me to collaborate with other people. All the collaborations I've ever done have happened organically, usually by people visiting me. The connection really is the car. It's a great equalizer that has brought people into my space. In 2016, I got approached by Hot Wheels. This is probably every kid's dream come true, to design a car with Hot Wheels. Well, 8 years later, that first car that came out in 2016 has led to over 30 signature cars that I've collaborated on with Hot Wheels. But the greatest thing is having my own personal cars become a 1/64th scale. There's nothing better than giving them away to kids, because that's the future of everything that's car related. And there's a Hot Wheels story for everyone from 2 to 100. But perhaps the coolest collaboration I've done to this date is what I'm wearing here. I got an email from Pelly at Nike who said, hey, we'd love to collaborate with you on our pro skater doing a shoe together. I said, sounds great, but I got to tell you, I don't skate. He said, it doesn't matter, we like your aesthetic. Long story short, that was how this sneaker, which was based around my car and built to distress just like my car did, came to be. And built to be worn. You see, I've worn out the sole. I walk a lot. My last name's Walker. I got to live up to my surname. I can get 2,000 miles out of a pair of these. What I love about living in downtown LA in the neighborhood is, like I say, I can sit in the garden and go get a coffee next door. Everything's located within a mile of every freeway. I'm a car guy. I like to drive. My favorite road, Angeles Crest Highway. I can go rip over the 6th Street Bridge in one of my favorite cars. So, you know, being in LA, you've got ocean, desert, mountain from a driving point of view. So for me, it's kind of like the perfect place to be. And this is the epicenter of it. And without this building, I wouldn't have been able to house everything that you see. Right after 9/11, I got a phone call which sort of changed my life. It was a phone call from a location company asking if I'd be interested in renting the building for a music video. It had never occurred to me. The only reason I tell you about that is that film location business revenue allowed me to collect more Porsches than I ever thought I would own. Long story short, the first thing we ever shot was a Missy Elliott video, which started at 6 a.m. on a Friday morning and ended at 4 a.m. on a Saturday morning, 22 hours later. And I'll be honest with you, at the end of that long day, I said I'll never do that again. But when the dust had settled and we realized how much money we'd made in that one day of filming, because back then music videos paid a lot of money, so that was how I accidentally fell into the film location business. And by that I mean everything from small budget still shoots to big budget TV commercial music videos and reality shows. I always say humans like to collect, whether it's cars, guitars, stamps, trains, flowers, books, whatever it may be. For me, it's cars and guitars and watches. I grew up as a kid watching a lot of American TV shows. You know, Rockford Files, Chips, Kojak, Dukes of Hazzard, Evel Knievel. Inspiration's all around, I throw it in the blender. When it comes to cars, basically pulling from the glory years of my favorite form of motorsport, the late 60s, early 70s. So the signature touches that I put to my car, I wasn't looking to duplicate or emulate like a Golf livery or Martini livery. And that was the greatest thing about the building, was creating a live-work space where I didn't commute to work. If you woke up at 3 a.m. in the morning with an idea, I would just go downstairs to the atelier. You know, by the end of that day, the garment would be done. So it was super creative, super inspiring, all under one roof. So having lived in the downtown LA Arts District for 32 years, I've seen the transformation into what has become sort of the new Venice, the new Culver City, the new media area. So I'm not saying I had a crystal ball. What drew me to this area was just big open space. That was it. It was pretty simple. There's always different inspiration. The light hits it in different places at different times of the day. So I'm Magnus Walker. Thanks for tuning in to Everhouse. When you get a chance, get out and drive pedal to the metal. Cheers and rock on.
Hi Everhouse, I'm Gary Plummer and welcome to my space here in California. My house is a mid-century modern style, but I have more of an eclectic collection of stuff to make it my own. I live in Claremont with my family and 4 dogs, 3 Frenchies, 1 pug. I like the stuff from the 50s, 60s, and 70s because I feel like it's classic, it's timeless. It's something growing up as a kid. Those are the cars and the things that I saw that I had to have when I got older. I don't know that that's deliberate, but I do notice that I like a lot of stuff from that era. I found some really cool chairs for my dining room. They're like a mid-century style, but have a little more of an industrial look to them. So I decided to put a motorcycle in my living room, because why not? Everything that kind of has to do with my life is kind of on display in my home. One of my favorite features I have in my home is my helmet collection. I got my first vintage motorcycle helmet back in 2008. I ended up painting it, selling it, buying another one. That ultimately led to me having one of the largest collections in the world. I have over 300 helmets, a lot of rare models. I noticed that I really like patterns. I'm always looking for cool rugs, blankets and stuff. I go to Rosewell Swap Meet a lot. I find a lot of my pieces there. Navajo style rugs. I have them here in the hangar, I have them in my Airstream, I have them in my home. It's a pretty eclectic style of stuff. Everything that kind of has to do with my life is kind of on display in my home. I'm not a big muscle car fan. I think they're cool, but I've always been more interested in the German, Volkswagen, Porsche. My uncle had a 1954 Speedster when I was a kid, and I remember climbing in and out of that thing thinking one day I'm gonna have my own Porsche. And there's just something about the 356 that it's my favorite car. I love it. The lines on it are timeless, it's sexy, it's just a beautiful car. And when I first got this car, I was able to rebuild the engine. It's like a little rocket ship. The Porsche culture here in California is pretty big. There's a lot of them here. The weather's perfect to own a car like this. They're not rotting away. We don't get snow. It's always sunny pretty much. So having a 356 is really nice, except for in the summer, it does get pretty hot driving them, but I'd rather be hot driving a 356 than cool driving a minivan or something. I got this hangar back in 2019, and I was actually across the way and I saw this one came available. So when I got it, came in and scrubbed it down and spent a ton of money redoing the floors, staining the floors, and did all the electrical and started to bring it to life and make it my own. Since I was a kid, I've always been obsessed with Porsches and motorcycles and most importantly, airplanes. And I always knew one day I'm gonna get my pilot's license and have my own plane. So it just worked out when I got this hangar. It was a good spot for me to display all my toys, all my art, all my helmets, and make it my own little personal space. In 2005, my life kind of changed when my little brother was killed in a car accident. That's what inspired me to be a firefighter. Unfortunately, I got hurt on a fire. Now I strictly film for a living. And it kind of opened my eyes that I need to follow my own dreams and do the things I want to do in life. One of them was to become the pilot and get an airplane. Even after all the training I've done flying, getting my pilot's license and flying often, it still scares the hell out of me to be up there. But after the loss of my brother and realizing that life's pretty short, it really makes me want to live and do things to challenge myself, do things extreme. Although the consequence could be pretty bad, it makes you feel alive. And every time I take this plane up, it makes me feel like something I've never felt before. Like I literally think I just left Earth and I'm in control of this. And no one else can give that to me, no one else can take that from me. And when I put my family and friends inside this airplane, it gives me this responsibility that I have to bring this thing to the ground. We also have a place in Newport Beach, which is very minimal and beach inspired. It's a very different space. The feeling there is much more calming, it's relaxing, and quite laid back, really. I grew up in California my entire life. I think it's great. I have traveled the world and I come back and I don't think I ever want to leave. We're really close to the mountains. I can take my bikes up into the canyon and the weather here is amazing. So living in California, it is definitely a vibe. It's definitely a culture and I'm happy to be a part of it. And being a pilot, the weather here is pretty amazing most of the time, which gives us great opportunity to fly a lot of different places. Obviously the ocean in Newport Beach is beautiful. It's very clean, has great waves. I love to surf, so I'm close to the ocean. But California in general, really just a magical place to be. So my hangar's pretty industrial. My home is pretty eclectic. They all represent a different spot for me, all where I can equally feel at home and be inspired. It's nice to be able to share these experiences with my kids and my friends and my family and be able to put smiles on people's faces when they see these spots. And what the main thing I've learned from having all this is you can't get any time back. After my little brother was killed, it really changed my whole perspective on everything and made me appreciate being alive. I kind of live my life to the quote that's on his headstone. It's a James Dean quote that says, "Dream as if you'll live forever, live as if you'll die today."
Subscribe to the Everhouse channel by clicking on the logo to receive updates on our latest episodes.